Good afternoon and welcome to CBJ News COVID special.
I'm Mia Holmes.
This is Robert O'Halloran and here are the top stories for today. With plans for 15 million people to be vaccinated by February 15th, those suffering with COVID symptoms are still encouraged to get tested. Holly Forbes has more.
With COVID death rates soaring past 100,000, although infection rates are low, people are still being urged to come to their local test site to get a test. Here at Forest Trent, there is both test sites and a vaccination centre. The volunteers work here every day to get through as many people as they can, trying to hit their targets.
We've got like a collection of boxes where we do all the tests. Put it in the box for half an hour, and then after half an hour, upon this little test thing, it should come up with one line if you're negative, 2 lines if you're positive, and then no lines if you're void. Personally, I feel absolutely fine doing it, but I can understand why people of different age groups and people that have different underlying health conditions wouldn't be. I mean, in the school that I work at, we're quite lucky because a lot of the people that are doing these tests and a lot of people that have volunteered to do them are of quite a young age bracket. We had a positive test come in on, it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm going to say Wednesday. And as soon as that positive case came in, all staff and all children that have been sort of like in close contact with him or any contact at all have to self-isolate. So this child was specifically in year 7. So the whole of the year bubble of year 7 have to now self-isolate, and every single staff member working in either the test centre or working in year 7 itself have to isolate for 10 days as well.
Although working in test sites can be stressful, workers like Tom know how essential they are to stopping the spread. Jane Forbes is just one of the many that have already been vaccinated.
We just immediately responded and said, yes, please, we'll have like 8 appointment slots for us and all the staff. Got confirmation, I think about 1 o'clock in the morning, actually. So I kind of woke up to my phone buzzing, and it was an email to say you've got an appointment, and it gave me a list of all the other members of staff and their appointments times. And I was so excited. I wanted to actually text them there and then. I waited till the morning when I thought they'd be up, and then I sent them all a message to say that they'd all got appointments, and they were all so pleased.
This is Holly Forbes for CBJ News.
Following that, a city in Northern Ireland faces an uphill battle against suicides in young people, with figure continues to grow at an alarming rate. One group of local volunteers have decided to take action. Cormac Clark has more.
Northern Ireland. A troubled past with a worrying future. Since 1998, over 5,000 people have lost their lives to suicide, with cities like Derry being badly affected. The city's River Foyle has become a vocal point of tragedy, with local charity Foyle Search and Rescue responding to over 230 incidents alone in 2016. One group of volunteers, called the Foyle Prevention Team, have set up to patrol the river to assist the charity in saving lives.
For main reasons for our initiative, the Foyle Prevention Team, is we know there's a rise in young ones heading the bridge, suicide, jumping bridges. So we thought we could do, maybe with a rise of lockdown, the first lockdown, we know it's men's mental health, people's mental health, young ones in Derry. So we thought we could start a patrol initiative, we patrol the bridges and try and help young ones and engage them along the bridge.
Although Foyle Search and Rescue has been prevalent in the city for many years, increased demand and a stretching of resources has meant more help is needed.
I've seen this initiative going, which I feel is very, very important in the area. It's something that's badly needed. You see, they're a prevention team, they're trying to intervene and help people out that are having difficulties and see the River Foyle as their last option, and they're going, a lot of us should cry for help. But I say, if you can get the people, intervene, help people out, that's what it's all about. Say they're filling the void, it's badly needed. Foyle Search and Rescue, great team within the city here, but they're stretched.
With current lockdown restrictions in place and mental health at an all-time low, it is expected that groups like Foyle Prevention Team will be as busy as ever. This is Cormac Clark for CBJ News.
Parents across the country are wondering when schools will reopen for in-person teaching and awaiting a clear plan from MPs as to how this will be done safely. Yasmin Stevenson has more.
This school behind me, like all others in England, would normally be full of school children, but today they once again remain quiet and empty. Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced this week that schools will remain closed until at least the 8th of March. However, he also said that he could not guarantee schools would be reopened before the Easter holidays, starting on the 2nd of April. This means at least another 5 weeks of homeschooling for parents who are having to balance teaching their kids with their own jobs. I spoke to Emma Kisby, a mother of two who started up her own business during this lockdown and has struggled with juggling this and taking care of her 6-year-old Eva.
Mentally, I just thought, oh gosh, I've got a workload to do. How am I going to manage all of that? We still have the meltdowns. We still have the pushbacks because of her age and the environment, and it's me, and she gets tired and she wants to be doing other things. But it's very difficult to juggle as somebody who's trying to work as well and has a business.
In England, all A-level, AS-level, GCSE and SAT exams have been cancelled across this school year, and estimated grades will be used instead. Only vulnerable children and the children of key workers can currently go into school for in-person teaching. Originally, mass coronavirus testing was meant to go ahead in schools at the start of January. This plan has now been paused in all but a small number of secondary schools. Jane Scott, a teacher and head of department leader, spoke about her staff's concerns with returning to school without testing in place.
I think the more that you're away from the site, the more nervous you get. I think it would be nice to have a clear plan on vaccination. I know that a lot of staff would feel a lot happier if teachers were at the top and support staff and anybody else who works in a school or college was at the top of that list for the next round of vaccinations. I think that would help a lot of people feel a lot better about coming back onto site.
As the COVID death toll in the UK reached 100,000 people, all eyes are on MPs to put out a clear plan before reopening schools. Yasmin Stevenson for CBJ News.
Keeping on the topic of education, with a third lockdown forcing schools to deliver classes online again, there's a question over whether elements of online learning will last beyond the pandemic. And should trainee teachers be taught how to deliver classes online? Heather Shaw reports.
As schools and colleges continue to deliver lessons online, there's question as to whether remote learning will be taught to training teachers as standard practice, such as using Microsoft Teams and delivering effective education remotely. Teaching unions are calling for more support for newly qualified and trainee teachers, just like Jess, who's qualified as a drama teacher.
Did your teacher training equip you well for learning how to teach online?
So I qualified in lockdown, the first one. So it's all kind of a bit mental anyway, but I work really closely with my head of department and he's really supportive. Supporting one another has really helped me because I think at the start when they said, right, we're going into lockdown again, children might be going back to school, dread just came over us and we were like, oh no, it's happening again. We've got to change all of our topics. Some people don't have the skills of actually just like working teams and stuff like that. So I think it's also giving the training courses possibly that would be really, really vital because not everyone's a wizard at things like that.
Nottingham Trent University is one of the many institutions that offers a PGCE. However, students like Kirst have found that the integration of online learning has been great for their training experience.
So, as a student teacher, do you think more training should be given for online teaching before you actually qualify?
It's daunting, I'm not going to lie, especially as a trainee, because I only actually got 3 months in a proper school in a classroom before all of this happened. It's an extra skill, isn't it? And if the world ever goes like this again, then at least we'll be prepared for it. And I just feel like if we can train in this time, then we can do anything. It's difficult, but it's rewarding.
As the future for education remains uncertain, more guidance is likely to follow with the next government briefing. Heather Shaw, CBJ News.
Next, we look at how international students have been affected. Many students will be travelling into the UK to study through the Erasmus programme this semester. But what will these Erasmus students miss out on due to the COVID-19 restrictions currently in place?
I really want to experience this practical exposure, but yeah, I'm gonna miss that because of the COVID. I have to attend classes online. Other than that, everything seems similar to me because I attended the previous 2 semesters in online. So yeah, but the main thing I wanted to go with, which is practical exposure, I couldn't get it, but I have to I have to sacrifice something because of the COVID.
Moving on from education, Britain's exit from the EU has meant many changes to trading for both businesses and customers. Businesses have found it a lot more difficult to trade between countries, and many customers have been left with a surprise tax on the products they have ordered. Abby Hennin reports.
The UK has entered 2021 in a national lockdown and out of the EU. The closure of non-essential shops has meant that the online market has never been in such high demand. But what has post-Brexit trade regulations meant for businesses and customers? I spoke to Ben Eaton about what the new trade regulations have meant for his auto ID hardware company.
So a lot of the stuff that we ship from distribution warehouses directly from Europe. Doing that, we can't ship direct from the warehouse to customers, which adds massive delays to lead times, massive paperwork you have to fill out.
Ben also mentioned what the short and long-term effects this would have on the company.
Short term, we can't make the same promises we can to the customers. So like before Brexit, we'd offer next day service, next day shipping from anywhere in Europe for all the items you want to. But we can't do that anymore, so we've got to add, or always put the caveat in to say it could be up to 7 days, depending how long items go from duty. The long term, hopefully it all sort of resolves itself and the shipping becomes easier. But you can't tell. But hopefully a lot of the distribution, because a lot of them will have UK warehouses as well, much smaller, they'll grow their infrastructure.
I also spoke to Hannah Braybrook, who was shocked after a pair of earrings she ordered from Spain was charged tax on top of the original purchase price.
I bought a pair of earrings from a website that wasn't from the UK, and it was a shop that was in the EU. And when they finally arrived, I realised that they charged me for tax for an extra £20, which is just really frustrating because obviously if I'd known I was going to get taxed more, I probably wouldn't have bought the earrings from a website that wasn't from the UK and was part of the EU. And it's just really frustrating to me because obviously it's not ideal for anybody, but to have to not be told that and then find out later on, you might not have been in a financial position to do that.
Abby Hanny, CBJ News. The UK has entered 2000.
Industry lost 200 million per day in 2020 due to COVID-19 restrictions. And despite financial help from the government, unemployment rates are 5%. But what has it been like for those who are working in this industry? CBJ's Freya Love reports.
National lockdowns have forced many businesses that fall into the hospitality sector to close or at least alter their operations since March 2020. Will Rossiter, Professor at Nottingham Business School, believes the impact will be significant.
I mean, they'll be affected grievously, to be honest, because they're affected by, if you like, the restrictions that the government have put in place to try and manage the pandemic. Sectors that are dependent on any form of social consumption have been hardest hit, they've been hit both by the changes in people's behaviour, to avoid situations that put them at risk, but also the letter of the regulation.
Sasha Leek owns 3 cafes in Hertfordshire and has experienced many challenges in keeping things up and running.
Everything changed, and every time there was a lockdown, and it had such an effect on the business. If you changed it to social distancing, then you had to remove furniture or you had to change the logistics of the cafe. We had to build in screens. It was a really costly exercise and still continues to be.
The biggest changes opening after the first lockdown were, we had to comply with the distancing and, general health checks. So we obviously lost capacity, which was one of our biggest things.
But what does this mean for unemployment?
At the moment, we've certainly seen an uplift in unemployment I think most expectations are that that will continue to rise, for some months yet.
I think you'd be hard pushed to find any hospitality business that didn't have to make some redundancies. So sadly, yes, we were affected and we had to let some people go.
If there's not the same number of people coming through the door, like what can you do? You can't have, a full team of staff.
In Nottingham, these industries are vital.
I think it's absolutely imperative, though, that government does maintain schemes like furlough, because without it, we really are going to see mass unemployment, on a scale we haven't seen in many years.
What I hope is that I can maintain as many of our staff as we can.
Freya Love for CBJ News.
In the business sector, unemployment continues to rise in the UK as online fashion retailers like ASOS and Boohoo have bought some of the biggest British fashion brands on the high streets, but they will not be taking on its stores and staff. Our business correspondent, Josh Oberhall, has more.
Well, 2020 was a year where unemployment reached its highest level for almost 2 years, and that's set to increase this year as well. Last week, online fashion retailer Boohoo bought the Debenhams brand for £55 million. However, it will not be taking on its high street stores and staff. That means 12,000 jobs are set to be lost in the coming weeks. The workforce of Topshop, Topman and Miss Selfridges are set to have a similar fate, as this morning ASOS, another online fashion retailer, bought the three brands from Arcadia for £330 million. Again, this deal will see 300 shops close overnight and 2,500 staff lose their jobs. So let's have a look at the latest statistics for unemployment. Official figures show that unemployment rose to 5% from 4.9%. That's a whopping 1.72 million people jobless, according to the Office for National Statistics. Most economists expect unemployment to continue rising for the rest of the year. The government's economic watchdog has predicted UK unemployment is likely to reach 2.6 million by the middle of 2021. That's 7.5% of the working age population. Well, that's all the latest information for you on unemployment. Joshua Overhaul, CBJ News.
And although it's not what anyone wants to hear, as travel bans are enforced in the UK, many people are unable to go away on holiday or even think about booking one. Many travel agents and airlines are advertising sales of cheap holidays in the next couple of months, even though the government has advised people not to travel. Mia Holmes spoke with travel experts to find out more.
Going away on holiday is something a lot of us can only dream of at the moment due to this pandemic. With government guidelines advising people not to travel, however, many travel agents are still offering half-price holidays and money off trips for this year. Tim Brown had booked to go away to Alicante for his wife's 60th.
We were booked with Ryanair to go to Spain from Manchester to Alicante. All the necessary information was submitted and accepted, and the Spanish government website accepted that and confirmed. They sent us our QR codes, which we printed out. And then all of a sudden they came up with the UK government have said you cannot travel unless you're a Spanish resident. To say about proof of residency or proof of going through the process of becoming a resident, not on the Ryanair website. That's the thing. That sort of, if Ryanair are saying the flight is going, we've got our negative tests and we've got our QR code, we're good to go.
With many airlines and travel agents offering holidays online and advertising in the paper, people are confused and are unsure if booking to go away in the pandemic is the right thing to do. Although Jenny Jackson is a travel expert and an independent travel agent, and her advice is to wait out this pandemic as the end is in sight.
I think we have to kind of remember that we've got to let this pandemic settle in the UK here before we even start considering taking people's holidays. Please don't even consider travelling at the moment because of the restrictions. People can get stranded. As happened with Emirates Airlines, they're no longer flying in and out of the UK. So I think they should have just kept checking the the guidelines. People unfortunately don't check the guidelines. Need to know and be 100% clear and say what will happen if my holiday is cancelled due to COVID. What can you offer me? How safe is my money? It's so important that people do that.
So as Jenny said, the only thing we can do is to wait a little longer to get those bikinis out and only book holidays online if you are 100% sure refunds or a change of date is available. I'm Mia Holmes, reporting for CBJ News. Moving on to entertainment, whilst residents in the UK aren't able to leave their homes to even go to the pub, if you live in the New Zealand, it's a very difficult story. As the NHS continue to fight against COVID-19, England is remaining in the national lockdown with a stay-at-home order. New Zealand, however, has been able to have life back to normal. Tens of thousands of people have been able to attend non-social distance events coming into the new year, with the nation's largest festival, Rhythms and Vines, going ahead as planned. Local resident Alison Newbury describes it as it was like nothing had changed. Was very refreshing for us as a country, knowing the challenges months we had faced were worth it. And now for sport.
And for the weather today, here was enough to secure all 3 points away at West Ham on Sunday as Liverpool bid to defend their title. Today is the deadline day for all January transfers to be completed. £78 million has been spent so far by top flight clubs, and the Premier League is set for its lowest spending.
Sorry, I forgot that Robert was reading the
January transfer window so far. Prince William has also came out to support Marcus Rashford this week after he was racially abused online after Manchester United's game against Arsenal and stated there is simply no room for racism in sport. England's men's cricket team have left quarantine today after all members tested negative for coronavirus. They travelled to India for the 4-match test series that begins on Friday in Chennai. And finally, Diana Asher-Smith was hailed a true world champion as she won back-to-back events in Dusseldorf on Sunday.
For the weather.
And for the weather today, here are just some of the images received this morning from around the country. Nottingham with sunny clear skies, and further down south seems to be more grey and dull. The snow has quickly melted, but don't be too disappointed as more could be on the way by the end of the week. There will be highs of 6 degrees expected throughout the day, with most areas remaining cloudy and dull. Later through the evening it's expected to get much colder, with lows of 0 degrees, and expected chilly start to Tuesday morning, and bring an umbrella as there will be some showers in some parts moving in from the west. That's all for the weather.
And that's all for today. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. Stay safe and goodbye from all of us at CBJ News.